Good evening, and I'd like to welcome you once again to the 4th Annual Youth Assembly of the United Nations. The final core value that the Millennium Summit produced was one calling for shared responsibility and partnership for development. Partnership is critical in tackling the world's problems because in an era where globalization is fast outpacing any other historical phenomenon we've seen, we need to do so much more to connect with our neighbors, our regional partners, our allies, and indeed every person in the world, because we are all stakeholders. And because we are all stakeholders, we each have an inherent responsibility to help solve the world's problems. Now, you take a problem such as global warming, and you break it down into components. And let's take a look at smog and pollution. Let's say a country produces a certain set of tonnage of carbon emissions per year. Now, those carbon emissions don't only affect that country, because once the pollution is released, it goes into the air, crosses oceans. The environment doesn't care much for political boundaries on a map. And when the acid rain and smog fall in another country, their population is equally affected. Now let's take a look at a problem that hits close at home here in New York: terrorism. Poverty is one of the root causes of terrorism. When a poor person has no educational opportunity, no academic opportunity, no financial opportunity, and no incentive to do anything else, and finally, because they are hungry and wander into a terrorist training camp, only to be fed ideas along with meals to attack the innocent, that becomes our problem here in the first world. So, these are only two of the many examples of the critical challenges we face as a world, but they're very good ones of why we all need to come together. But, you see, the problem goes deeper because different fundamental theories on development argue that it's the fault of the poor for being poor and they need to get themselves out. And other theories say that the rich must keep giving money. It's a balance between those two methods. Every person on earth has a responsibility to advance development and help achieve the MDGs. The rich have an obligation to the poor because they've been built up and they've had the advantages that the poor have not had to build stable economies. And rightly so, the poor have a responsibility to take charge of their own lives and help develop for themselves. So where do you come in, the youth of the world? You are in the best position in the entire history of the world to be a youth. You are more empowered, more educated, and more able now than ever before to change this world. With the advances of information and communication technology, barriers that existed even 10, 20 years ago don't exist anymore. You can communicate with someone across the world and never see their face. You can work on a project with 5 different people from 5 different countries and never meet face to face. We live in a world where information travels as fast as you can think about it. So now more than ever, there is no excuse to get up, go out there, and make a change and difference in the world. Use ICT, use online forums, use the tools you have to assume your part of this shared responsibility, to go out there in your own communities and promote the Millennium Development Goals. Yes, these goals are tremendous. They're enormous in scope, and now we're at the halfway point to their achievement. But in your own community, your village, your town, your city, you can take the first steps to making the Millennium Development Goals a reality. And most importantly, you can make Millennium Development Goal 8 a reality, the call for a partnership for development. You as youth are in the best position to do this. You can take advantage of social networking websites such as Facebook and MySpace. You can use YouTube to create public announcements and public service broadcasts in your own communities, and then take that information and send it worldwide. You can be a living example of what it means to achieve the MDGs. Come together, cross any boundaries that may be in your way with the help of ICT. And together, as one youth with one voice, we can make the MDGs a reality. About 50 years ago, John F. Kennedy made a call to a new generation to take up a challenge and come together. That call is renewed here today, for every youth in the world to come together and advance the MDGs and to help achieve them. Because time is of the essence, and it is a crisis that we're facing when we look at development and poverty. But when there's crisis, there's tremendous opportunity. And youth of the world, you've never had an opportunity like this. I wish you the best of luck in your endeavors, and I'd like to thank you for coming here to New York, and I hope you have a great time.